Welcome back. We'll look at a confidence interval now for matched pairs data, specifically for the mean of the difference. So the confidence interval for the mean mu sub d of the population difference is given by, and then here's this pattern we've seen before. We have a point estimate, so that's what this d bar is. It's our point estimate of mu sub d. And then we have a margin of error. So if you, why do I always do this? The upper bound is when you take your point estimate and add the margin of error to it. The lower bound, you have your point estimate and subtract the margin of error. The margin of error in this situation is t sub alpha over 2 times s. Remember, s is the sample standard deviation divided by the square root of the sample size. So for example, let's construct a 95% confidence interval for the data we just used, actually, for the change in the depth of visibility over 5 years of the lake in the previous example. So for 95% confidence, that means the alpha is 5%. So remember, alpha is 100% minus the confidence level. We do need alpha in decimal form, though. So let's change that to 0.05. And then what we actually need for our for our margin of error is t sub alpha over 2. So let's just note that if alpha is 0.05, alpha over 2 is 0.025. And then we're going to look in the t distribution to find t sub alpha over 2. So this is t. Again, we need to know the degrees of freedom. But again, it's 7 because our sample size is 8. Oh, I didn't talk before about why the sample size is 8. So let's just look at our data again. You might have to flip back a page. The reason I'm saying the sample size is 8 is we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 matched pairs. So there's 8 samples for this population, 8 samples for that population, chosen in matched pairs. Okay, so that's where this 7 degrees of freedom is coming from, 8 minus 1. Okay, and we're looking for t sub alpha over 2. Now, we just determined that alpha over 2 is 0.025. So I'm looking for t sub 0.025. And remember what this t sub notation means is I'm looking for the t value that has area 0.025 to the right of it. Okay, and that's supposed to be just one line there. So when I look at the table, I'm going to look for the areas. Remember, the areas in the t distribution table are up at the top. So I'm going to look up at the top for 0.025, and then I'm going to go down to the row that has 7 degrees of freedom and read off from there the t value that has that area to the right. And what you see when you do that is 2.365. Okay, so now we're ready to compute our margin of error. It's 2.365, the t sub alpha over 2 that we just found, times the sample standard deviation, which is 6.081, over the square root of the sample size 8, and run that through a calculator, and you'll get 5.08. So, and just recall that we had said that we had computed the average of the matched pair differences to be, what was it, negative 5.125. Okay, so the lower bound for our confidence interval it's d bar minus the margin of error. So negative 5.125 minus margin of error is up here, 5.08. And so we get negative 10.25. And the upper bound is d bar plus the margin of error. So negative 5.125 plus 5.08, and we get negative 0.45. Okay, so we can say with 95% confidence that well, let's say this mathematically first. Negative 10.25 is less than the difference, the mean difference for the population, and that is less than negative 0.45. So this, remember, the d bar is our point estimate for mu sub d. D bar with a margin of error gives us an interval at which, in which we believe with 95% confidence that we've captured the actual mean for the population difference. Now let's say this in words too, because this isn't terribly illuminating. So i.e., which is that Latin abbreviation for in other words, i.e., the visibility is, so remember these negative signs indicated that the later measurement was a deeper visibility. So I'm going to replace when I state this out in words, I'm going to replace the minus sign with the word deeper, because that's what we said the minus sign is indicating. So the visibility is between 10.25 and 0.45. That was in feet, deeper after 5 years. Again, this word deeper is replacing the minus signs, because the way we did the subtraction, and you might need to go back and look at our discussion of that. The way we did the subtraction, we did it in such an order that the minus signs happened when the second number, the 5 years later number, was bigger. Okay, so that's a confidence interval, and I think that's a good stopping point. So I'll see you in the next video.